When a little girl stepped into the shelter that afternoon, no one expected the miracle that was about to unfold. For months, maybe even longer, a German shepherd named Ghost had sat silently in his cage. He never barked. He never wagged his tail. He never tried to get anyone's attention. He was the dog most visitors overlooked, a shadow fading in plain sight. But the moment Emily walked through those doors, something inside him broke free. For the first time in what felt like forever, Ghost began to cry. The sound froze the room. Staff members, families, even children holding leashes, they all stopped and stared. And as the shepherd's haunting whimpers echoed through the shelter, one question filled the air. Why is this dog in tears? Stay with me, because the answer will warm your heart. And by the end of this story, you'll understand why Ghost never gave up hope. But to really understand, we need to go back. To the night Ghost vanished, to the heartbreak that followed, and to the little girl who never stopped believing. And before we begin, let me ask you something. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your country in the comments. It always amazes me to see how far these stories travel. And if you believe in the unbreakable bond between humans and animals, go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder of how powerful love can be. Months before that day in the shelter, Ghost wasn't a nameless dog behind a cage. He was Emily's best friend. Ghost had entered Emily's life when she was just 6 years old. Her father, a firefighter, had found the shepherd one icy evening, shivering beneath a bridge, ribs showing through his fur. They brought him home, and from that night on, Ghost was family. Emily and Ghost became inseparable. He followed her on backyard adventures, stood guard while she colored at the kitchen table, and slept at the foot of her bed every single night. When Emily cried, Ghost pressed his nose against her cheek until she smiled again. When she laughed, he wagged his tail as if he had created her joy. But then came the terrible night that changed everything. It was autumn. The wind rattled the trees, leaves swirling in the dark. The family had just returned from visiting relatives. The trunk was full of bags, and in the rush of carrying everything inside, the backyard gate wasn't latched properly. Ghost, ever curious, nudged it open. Maybe he caught the scent of another animal. Maybe he was chasing the wind itself. Whatever the reason, he slipped into the night. Emily had already fallen asleep in the car, her head against her mother's shoulder. Her parents carried her inside, unaware that their loyal dog had wandered off. By the time they realized Ghost was missing, the street outside was quiet. "Ghost!" her father called into the night. His flashlight cut through the shadows, but no shepherd came running. Her mother's voice trembled. Maybe he's chasing a squirrel. He'll come back. But he didn't. That night turned into the longest of Emily's young life. The family searched everywhere. They knocked on doors. They stapled posters to lampposts. They posted online. Each evening, Emily's father drove slowly through the neighborhood with the windows down, calling, "Ghost, come on, boy!" But there was no familiar bark, no flash of tan and black fur. Emily cried herself to sleep, clutching Ghost's blanket. She whispered prayers into the darkness. Please bring him home. Please let him be safe. Her mother sat at her bedside one night, stroking her hair. "Sweetheart," she whispered, "maybe Ghost found another family. Maybe someone is taking care of him." But Emily shook her head fiercely. "No, he's waiting for me. I know it." And she was right. Ghost hadn't run away to find another family. He had been searching for his own. For days, he wandered familiar streets, nose to the ground, ears pricked for the sound of Emily's laughter. But with every turn, he drifted further from home. Hungry and weak, he lingered near a busy road until a stranger spotted him. "Poor thing," the man muttered, dialing animal control. "Looks like a stray." Ghost didn't resist. He was tired, he let them lead him away, and just like that, his world shrank into the cold bars of a shelter cage. Unlike the other dogs, Ghost didn't beg for attention. He didn't bark. He didn't wag his tail. He didn't press his nose to the bars when visitors walked by. He simply lay down, head resting on the cold floor, as though the world outside no longer belonged to him. The staff whispered about him sometimes. "He's not aggressive," one said. "He's just quiet, like he's waiting for something." Another shook her head. "Poor boy, he's given up." But they were wrong. Ghost hadn't given up. He was waiting for the only voice that mattered. For Emily, the months without Ghost were heavy with loneliness. At school, she sat quietly while friends laughed about vacations and pets. She doodled pictures of Ghost in her notebooks. She carried a worn photo of him in her backpack, the edges fraying from constant touch. At home, she left his toys untouched in the corner. Some nights, she placed a biscuit by the back door, whispering, "It's here, Ghost. Come home." Her parents worried. They saw her light dimming. One evening, her father knelt beside her bed. "Sweetheart," he said gently, "maybe we should visit a shelter. There are dogs there who need love. Maybe we could bring one home." Emily's lip trembled. "But what if Ghost comes back and I already have another dog?" Her mother stroked her hair. "We'll never forget him, but maybe helping another dog could help your heart too." Emily said nothing, but deep down she knew no dog could ever replace Ghost. Still, months later, she agreed to visit. Not because she wanted a new pet, but because a small voice whispered, "What if he's there?" The shelter was alive with sound the day they arrived. Dogs barked from every direction, high-pitched yaps, deep booms, playful barks, metal bowls clattered, tails thumped against steel. Children squealed as they pointed to their favorites. But at the very end of the row, away from the chaos, sat Ghost. His coat had lost its shine, his body was thinner, but his amber eyes, heavy with memories, still held a quiet strength. And when Emily stepped inside, his heart knew before his eyes did. For months, Ghost had been silent, but the moment he saw her, everything changed. His ears perked, his body trembled, and then, something no one had ever seen, tears welled in his eyes. He whimpered, softly at first, then louder until the shelter fell into silence. Every head turned. Ghost pressed his paws against the bars, desperate to reach the little girl. Emily gasped. Her small hand flew to her mouth, and then she ran forward, pressing her palm against the cage. Her voice cracked with emotion. "It's him. It's Ghost." Her parents stared, frozen in disbelief. A staff member whispered, "Dogs can look alike, are you sure?" But Emily knew. She crouched by the cage, tears streaming down her face. "Ghost, it's me. Come here, boy." The effect was instant. Ghost exploded with joy, tail wagging, cries turning to barks of pure happiness. He shoved his nose through the bars, licking Emily's fingers as though he'd never stop. Gasps filled the shelter. Visitors covered their mouths. This wasn't coincidence. This was recognition. Emily sobbed, laughing through tears. "See? I told you. He never forgot me." The staff fumbled with the keys, hands shaking as they unlocked the cage. The moment the door swung open, Ghost bolted out. Not with fear, not with hesitation, but with unrestrained love. He launched himself into Emily's arms, nearly knocking her over. She collapsed to her knees, clutching him tightly as his tail thumped like a drum. Ghost smothered her face with kisses, whining as if to say, "I missed you. I'll never leave again." The shelter staff and visitors wiped their eyes. No one had ever seen anything like it. The paperwork was signed faster than anyone could remember. The staff smiled through tears. Emily walked proudly beside her parents, one small hand gripping the leash, the other stroking Ghost's fur. At the door, she turned back, cheeks still wet with tears but glowing with joy. "Thank you," she whispered to the staff. And then, sunlight spilled over them like a blessing. For the first time in months, Ghost barked. Not a cry of sadness, but a song of happiness. He was finally going home. That night, Ghost curled at the foot of Emily's bed, just as he had before. Emily lay with her hand resting on his back, her breathing softening as she drifted into the first peaceful sleep she'd had in months. And Ghost? He didn't close his eyes. Not yet. He kept watch, his amber gaze fixed on the little girl he had waited for. Because love had led him home. And Emily's belief, that unshakable hope, was the reason he never gave up.